Hey guys, it's Brad here, your friendly neighborhood channel partner, marketing, loyalty guy, and all of those things. So today we're going to talk about data and in particular getting data into your program. I've had a little bit on data analytics lately, but obviously if the data's not there, you can't do anything with it. So what that data is going to be the organizations that your partners are, the people at those organizations, leads and opportunities, and perhaps sales data, as well as things like reference data, so things like products and SKUs, and product categories. For a properly built out partner program, you're going to have quite a few different sets of data. Well, I mean, you can always create data in Kademi one by one. You can jump onto a screen and open a form and add a new user or whatever. But that's not really what we're talking about today. We're talking about how do you handle large sets of data. So you might have hundreds of partners or thousands. You may have thousands or tens of thousands of users. Some of our clients actually have hundreds of thousands of sales, like each sale record per month. And you may have thousands of leads a month potentially. So to handle that sort of volume of data, you need to be able to deal with it in batch somehow. So there's really three ways you can do that in Kademi. Number one is you can upload files, and I'll show you that in a moment. We've got a nice little wizard. And the second thing you can do is you can, actually just continue that same thing, but automate it. Connect it up to, say, an FTP server, for example. Maybe you're using Salesforce or HubSpot as a CRM, and you're going to drop that file in an FTP server, and then Kademi's going to pick it up and import it. That's very handy, especially if you've got an ERP or something. They like that file process. And the third one is API-based. The more modern folks out there, where you like access to APIs, it gives you that real-time interaction. And part of that too, by the way, is this Kademi feature called CRM Synchronization, where certain data sets can be synchronized directly with your CRM, and that uses APIs and can be near real time. So what I'll do is I'll jump right in now and just show you the file import process, show you how to save that, connect it up to an FTP server, and then we'll talk about APIs. So let's jump right in. All right, so let's look at users, for example. So if you're on the Manage Users page, you can just hit Import Users. This is going to start that wizard. You're going to choose, I've got this little file here called Fictitious Data, and I'm going to create, I've got a column in here for organizations, so I'm going to create those if they don't exist. Now this is kind of an advanced screen, but it's super powerful. Often you will need to transform the data on the way in. And sometimes you want to do something after an import is done, send a notification email or something. So you've got a whole bunch of things here that can do that. For example, country codes. Kademi wants you to import countries as a two-letter code. If your file has the country as a full name, then you would use that action that's going to change it. So there's a bunch of things there. But for now, I'll just keep that simple. Now you notice here, so this is showing the file that I'm importing. It's just picked out the first few rows. And up here, you get to choose what column I'm going to import that row into. So this is why often people say to me, what file format do you need in Kademi? And the answer is, well, we'll just use whatever you've got, because the Kademi wizard lets you choose what each column is. You can also choose to not import a column. In this case, we're going to import all of them. And you notice that actually they've already been selected. And that's because when you get onto this screen, if you have Kademi's AI integration enabled, which is an optional thing, if it is enabled, it's going to send those first few rows off to the AI and get it to choose what it thinks is probably the right column in Kademi. And it gets it right, most of the time, 95% of the time. So with all that selected, I'm just going to hit next. And it scans through your file, does a bit of validation, and gives you some summary statistics here. If there's any errors, you can download them, which is great, because then you can, update your file and batch. We've also got this sanity checks thing. This can be really cool. Again, once you get onto the automation side of things, you can specify what rules to check as you're importing. Like, for example, if you're importing sales data, and the total amount is like $100 trillion, it's probably something's gone wrong there. So, you can import the import. But I'm happy with all of this. But now one thing I am going to do right now is I'm going to save this configuration. I'm going to call it users import one. All right, and what that means is the next time I've got a file to import, I just choose that configuration. I don't have to go and check all the columns or anything like that. And I'm going to hit import. So this will just take a minute to run. Oh, there we go, that's finished. So it'll do about 1,000 rows a second, give or take, and depending if you've got a lot of automations configured in Kademi, like what we call journeys, that can take a little bit longer if it's sending emails and things. For example, when you import users, you can have the system just send off a welcome email to them automatically. It does slow down the import a little bit, of course. Right, so that's done, and just to see what it has done, let's go and have a look here. So there you go, there's my users that I've imported. Great, so that's it. So now that's just showing importing users, but that wizard, it's actually exactly the same for each set of data. And to see what you can import, you just jump down here to table uploaders. And so they're all the different types of data that Kademi can import: invoices, leads, categories, assets, points, products, etc. So there's a lot of them in there. Okay, before we move on, let's just go to, I just want to show you that saved thing, the saved configuration thing. So you see it's kept a record there that I have done that import. That's really handy. Here you can choose the saved configuration that you want to import. And then when you choose your file, it's going to have all of the options that you selected previously. And that, I've jumped over to the integration page, because what I want to show now is taking that saved configuration and connecting it up to a scheduler. So it's going to run, in this case, every week, and it's going to pick up a file from an FTP server. So to do that, I just jump over here to endpoints. Now, just one thing, quick note, is integration needs to work within the context of a website within your Kademi account. So I've got the K-integration app installed into this one called Brad Test 1. So that's all set up, I can do that. So now I'm just going to hit this Add Table Uploader button. Right, and let's get started. So I'm going to call this Import Users, and we need to choose the type of data we're importing, which is users. Need to select that saved mapping file, mapping configuration. And then we're going to choose how are we going to get that data. So that's your three options there. Most people will choose either FTP or SFTP. If you don't know the difference, just talk to your IT guy who's setting that up. They'll tell you. I'm going to choose this. And then you got to put an address in there, like kiss.com or something, and it'll be something like data. Give it a file name, might be users.csv, and username might be Brad, and password will be test, and then a couple little options there that your IT person who's created your FTP server will help you with. And then what we're going to do is, because we do want this to run on a weekly schedule, so I'm going to click Add Schedule, and then I'll change the frequency to weeks. So I want it to run every 1 week, and then I'll give it a start date. So I want it to start on Monday, and that's all there is to it. So I can save that. It wants me to, I need to choose a security option. Right, so that'll go, and when it runs, it'll create a record here where you can see the results of it. You can also set it up with that email notification on the Actions tab I showed you before, so that you get informed of the results. All right, so that's our option 2, is to set up automated file import. And the third option I wanted to show is the API-based synchronization. So this is simply where Kademi has a set of APIs, and they're on this website here, api.kademi.co, which you can call to put data into Kademi. Okay, so if we look at this one, for example, this is going to get pretty technical, and I'm not going to go too deep, but basically it's just showing that you can, here's the documentation for how you can call this API to, for example, create a user. So that documentation is there for, it's broken up into these 3 categories, core entities. So that's profiles, which represents people, organizations, and the relationships between people and organizations, or what we call memberships. So then we also have the set of APIs related to CRM. So this is mostly about leads. So a lead representing an opportunity or a deal or something like that. So they can be created and updated. And then we have sales data. So sales data is, well, it's sales records. Or sales transactions. Basically any activity that you want to, reward or incentivize, you put them in there. Great. So, and then the final one, actually, just to mention real quick, is what we said before, that I said the CRM synchronization. That's worth a whole video in itself, and I'll do that soon. It's super, super powerful. It allows a bi-directional synchronization. So what that means is, say your partners, if they update their details in Kademi, it will then update your CRM, Salesforce or HubSpot, and vice versa. If they're updated there, they can be brought across automatically to Kademi. Same thing applies to leads. So, if your partners update a lead in Kademi, they'll update in Salesforce. It's a great way of putting that information in the hands of your own sales team. And that's really what you want. You want your partners in your sales team, well, in many cases anyway, working hand in hand. Cool, so that's the video for today. Thanks for watching. Just get in touch with us if you'd like any more information on any of these options, and we'll be really happy to run through it with you. Thanks now, bye.